Hello everyone and thank you for joining. Today's video will focus on the history of the Volturi from the Twilight saga. While we see much of the governing coven in the books and movies, I want to deliver a video on the backstory of the Volturi pre-Twilight. I want to analyse and explain their rise to power and examine in detail what they actually did to achieve their royalty status within the vampire world. Keep watching as we continue the video and discover the history of the Volturi. Vampires are incredibly unique and beautiful creatures. While they have remained hidden, their existence has never truly been concealed, which led to them being hunted over the centuries. While wishing for no spiraling conflict with humans, the majority of vampires anyway, they use humans as a food source and they hunt inconspicuously. However, that's not the case for every vampire. They're extremely fast, powerful, and if not in control of their bloodlust, can become immensely vicious, leaving a bloody trail of bodies behind them, which in turn can expose their kind and leave them extremely vulnerable. Few humans actually know about the existence of vampires to live to tell their tale. The older the vampire, the stronger they are, and over the centuries, several covens had grown so strong that they took it upon themselves to police the vampire world for the benefit of the species. None have been more effective than the Volturi, and they still remain in power today, over 3,000 years after originally forming. The Volturi are considered vampire royalty and are the unofficial governing body of the realm. They present the laws to which every vampire who wishes to continue existing must follow. The coven first formed in or around 1200 BC and consisted of 3 leaders, Aro, Caius and Marcus, and their wives Sulpicia, Athenadora and Didyme respectively. The 3 leaders are considered some of the most powerful vampires in existence today, and 2 of them are blessed with incredibly exceptional dark gifts. Aro, the main spokesperson for the coven, has the ability to read every thought a person has ever had and are currently having. Caius, while unusually having no dark gift despite having such an elevated position, had a heightened emotional hatred of humans and werewolves, which allowed him to manipulate many situations to his favour. On a personal note, I feel Caius' hatred actually stems from having no dark gift, and he projects that onto the vampire's natural enemies. Marcus had the ability to view the emotional ties and connections between people, not just for romantic relationships but civil ones too. He could establish certain vampires' true loyalties to the Volturi, whether they would betray them if they had a chance. He could identify someone's character morals. Marcus could also see the weaker-minded vampires, those who would break easily in battle for example. His gift was crucial to the Volturi's continued dominance of power, something Aro was all too well aware of. It was a line of thought that the Volturi continued to follow, recruiting members with extraordinary dark gifts over vampires with brute strength, which had long been the tradition of many other covens. By adding vampires with such gifts, the Volturi grew incredibly strong as they built their ranks. Each member would have a power so useful, so unparalleled, that they fit the next piece of the puzzle that Aro and his co-leaders required. The Volturi then set its sights on taking over the vampire world, for the good of vampiric existence, believing they themselves would offer peace and stability to the world they lived in. They would offer the correct environment with a law-abiding community. However, the current vampire rulers, the Romanian coven, would not be moved easily. The Volturi's challenge over the Romanians' dominance sparked a war lasting 100 years, which finally seen them emerge victorious with very little loss. The Romanians tried small rebellions over the years, but none left a mark, and they were defeated every time, which left them bitter and eager to continue their assault as the years passed. The Volturi then turned to the Egyptian coven, who were in control of most of North Africa. Realizing the threat of the Volturi, 2 of the most powerful members, Amun and Kabi, deserted the coven for reasons of self-preservation. The coven was also defeated easily by the Volturi and no longer considered a threat. After 300 years with their coven, Marcus and his wife Didymae grew tired of the seclusion and repetitive lifestyle of the Volturi. They no longer wanted to seek out gifted vampires for the coven or help enforce the laws that they had once helped create. Marcus and Didymae wanted a new challenge, a fresh start elsewhere. When they informed Arrow of their decision to leave, he initially gave them his blessing, though this was just to keep the peace while he arranged his own sister's murder. Didymae's death devastated Marcus beyond reason. He lost all of the happiness in his heart and longed for death after failing to discover her killer. Arrow showed no regret for the part he played, believing that his actions were in the best interest of the coven. He used his next wonder discovery, Chelsea, formerly known as Charmion, to influence Marcus's feeling of loyalty to the Volturi. It is believed that Marcus is somewhat aware that he is not in total control, but simply doesn't care as he feels empty without the woman he loves. It's also noteworthy to mention that Didymae's special gift was the ability to make other people feel happy. Despite Marcus's heartbreak, it wasn't everyone that was forced to remain with the coven. For example, Carlisle Cullen spent a decade in Volterra and was considered excellent company by all three leaders. They respected Carlisle's compassion for humans and his refusal to drink human blood. Although disappointed at his decision to leave, they allowed him to do so as his gift was not considered integral to the coven's success. Sometime before 800 AD, Arrow discovered what would be the anchor to permanently establishing the Volturi's dominance amongst their kind: Jane and Alec. The twins were born in England to an Anglo-Saxon woman and a Frankish soldier. Odd things seemed to happen around the twins from an early age. They seemed, for some reason, to unknowingly be able to influence the fortune of people and their surroundings. Those who were nice to the twins seen good things come their way. However, those who were mean and even cruel to them seen great misfortune come upon them. The twins began to frighten the villagers even more as they grew older, and eventually were accused as witches. They were set to be burned at the stake, and only for Arrow's swift last-minute intervention would have suffered an agonizing death. It's important to note that Jane and Alec began burning before Arrow arrived. At the age of 12, he transformed the twins into vampires and thus created the most powerful attacking vampires known to exist. The twins developed their dark gifts from their experience in the fire. Jane was now able to inflict the horrible burning pain she felt as a human on anyone she chose, while Alec had the ability to shut off all the senses. Can you imagine that for a moment? No sight, no hearing, no smell, no taste, and no touch. Everything is completely black. You don't know if you're moving or not because you can't touch anything. Then, all of a sudden, you experience a pain so bad that you pass out or simply die. With the twins now leading the attack, the Volturi were now untouchable. They were presented to the vampire world when the Romanian coven once again tried to reclaim what they had lost. Jane and Alec decimated their ranks and put an end to the Romanians once and for all. I'll be doing a separate video on Jane and Alec as I have a lot more detail to go into on the twins. The Volturi ruled over the vampire world for the next 25 centuries, enforcing their laws, which are as follows. Hunts must be inconspicuous, with victims unlikely to be missed. Their remains must be disposed of, and territory must be changed often. Incapable of self-control, and therefore a threat of exposure, immortal children are not to be created. Such creation is the ultimate taboo and punishable by death to both child, creator, and those who defend the child and those who know of its existence. Dealing with children of the moon, werewolves, shapeshifters, etc., except for the purpose of extermination, is prohibited. False witness, regardless of intent, is punishable by death. Hunting is forbidden in Volterra, the town of residence of the Volturi. Their food is brought from outside, sometimes from quite far away. Attention should not be drawn and vampires should not be noticed in open sunlight. The creator is responsible for his newborn's behavior and teaching of the laws before they can be released on their own. By letting a newborn hunt conspicuously, the penalty will be death, to both newborn and creator. Even if the newborn is ignorant of the law, his rash acts are still punishable by death. Vampires' interactions with humans must not draw wide attention. If a human becomes aware of them, the vampire at fault would be responsible for silencing that human. This mostly leads to two options: make the human join the immortals, or silence that human permanently. As long as attention isn't drawn widely so that prompts the Volturi's involvement, they may never find out. So everyone, with that being said, that is my video on the history of the Volturi pre-Twilight. I will do a video on the Volturi in full depth and detail where I'll highlight every single member and explain their gifts, in addition to how the Volturi actually ranks its members. If that's something you'd like to see, then please give this video a like, smash that like button, as I'm trying to grow the channel. Thanks again, and I'll see you all in the next video for Vampire Folklore.